my business. Big man and witness my musical litmus. Just for your fitness, beg my forgiveness. My records go Guinness, so be my apprentice. Unicorn hacking in Venice, angel investors, my internet tennis. Still criminal till I spill it to finish. Survival the fittest, the digital menace. I'm still in out of the scene, popping them volumes and sipping caffeine. Marshall with packets in a routine that I write to a stream with a proxy between. Embedded radix and word, macros disabled, your boy ain't deterred. Why I transferred, social the teller and teller you heard about the king nerd. I keep it suave on the phone.
Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of Cancelled. I'm Cyan Bannister, and I'm here with my pal Lee.
Howdy.
Howdy. I've had lots of people. It was really funny. Yesterday, I took a meeting with an entrepreneur who was really excited to meet you. He was meeting with my other friend Lee, and he really wanted to talk to you about his AR-15 or something like that. So he was really excited. I'll have to put you in touch with him.
Perfect. Yeah, it's one of my favorite guns to build.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting. And he was an entrepreneur, or is an entrepreneur from the Midwest. And so he was really excited to hear about you, and that there are people here who actually understand and enjoy the Second Amendment. Today we're going to talk about something kind of dark, so we're going to keep it short. And I think the topic today is something that's on everyone's minds right now, which is coronavirus. And so I've had a lot of people call me and wonder, like, what my plans are about the coronavirus. And, mostly just because I think people think I'm a doomsday prepper. And I have this like persona or something that I must have
that
like
you would
a
have
bunker.
an underground bunker off in Wyoming.
Yeah, I don't have an
In a
underground
missile
bunker,
silo.
and I'm not lying. I have no missile silo, but apparently I have the personality of someone who would have these things. And so a lot of people are looking to me for, the zombie apocalypse advice. And I don't really have any. I think the only thing that, I can tell you what I've been doing, which is paying close attention to the news. And news is a little bit delayed, but at the same time, we have to depend on countries that have free speech in order to tell us the ground truth of what's going on. We can't really trust anything that's coming out of Chinese news propaganda.
I think that's one of the biggest problems is the Chinese government, the CCP, has pretty much tried to keep this thing hush-hush. And it's only made things worse. It's made it worse for the international community and the people there in China.
Yeah.
Because they don't necessarily know what's going on, and the government's not being honest. They have people that post on social media in China talking about, their concerns or what's going on in their town. And then we've seen video to where police show up and say, please delete that off. Those are rumors, and we'll arrest you if you don't.
Well, not only that, but they force them to make statements. Basically saying, and telling them that they're causing public disruption. I don't know what the right terminology is, but you're not allowed to spread rumor mongering. So it's rumor mongering. It's just so dystopian. The things that I've seen are just so dystopian.
Oh, yes. It's absolutely terrible. And it's not even just people posting on social media, but we have physicians that have been reprimanded by the government as well. Yeah,
there's a physician, and you said his name earlier, but I'm going to try it. It's Li Wenliang?
Wenliang.
Okay.
So I think it's Wenliang.
Li Wenliang. I'm going to learn how to say his name properly because he deserves it. He was one of the first 8 physicians to try to flag that this was happening and that a new illness was spotted, and several people from this meat market were brought into the hospital and were being treated, and he was letting people know that it was a SARS-like virus. And, as you can imagine, in China, they're really, really scarred from when the SARS outbreak happened, and I think over 500 people died.
Yeah.
And
that was way back in, 2005, 2003?
I think
early
so.
2000s?
Yeah, I think so. I remember I had been to Hong Kong just right before it, and just was following along with the news, and it was just really devastating. And this is really devastating because we don't know the extent. We know it's more viral. We know that the death rate is lower, but at the same time, it's getting to more people.
Yeah, it's spreading pretty quickly. You also have to remember that even back in 2000, the early 2000s, 2003 or so, a lot of these areas weren't as densely populated. And so now you have like Shenzhen, for example, that has just kind of exploded in the last 20 years. And that just makes these transmissions of the virus hopping around much more rapid and dangerous.
Well, I think the other bad thing is they were doing at home quarantines. So if you tested positive, they sent you home. But if you go home and you don't live alone, you actually are potentially infecting more people.
Hmm.
And so they were actually, there was multiple family members and households who were coming down with coronavirus. I read today that they moved towards quarantining everyone who's ill. And so they have, there's like stadiums with beds
Yeah.
for people. And I mean, it's just heartbreaking. It's
Well,
absolutely heartbreaking because this could have been potentially, I mean, we don't know, we can't rewind time, but I think that the CCP clamping down on free speech and whistleblowing and people being able to flag something, really the consequences are grave.
yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
I think reasonably, any reasonable person could see that this probably could have been mitigated to some degree if they had just jumped on it and said, "Oh, I think we have a problem.
Right.
Let's be honest and open with the public. We're going to get on this. We're going to apply all these government agencies to try to knock this out and figure out what's going on." And they didn't do that. They just said, "Oh, we'll try to be quiet. You're just
We have an
being.
ambulance going by.
We have an ambulance going
We
by."
don't have soundproofing yet, but we will. I don't think it would block that out, but
I
it's
don't know.
city life.
It's a city.
Yeah, people just need to understand. We're in a city.
We're not in a sound studio.
Yeah.
We're not going to have a sound booth. So
No.
we'll try to get it quiet. Anyway.
Anyway, moving on.
So yeah, I think a lot of this could have been mitigated and avoided, but unfortunately, it just didn't go that way. And then you have the government in denial that even our agencies here in the U.S., our organizations, our government tried to reach out and help and give them aid. They denied it. And then just recently, they didn't accept aid until the 29th of January.
Wow.
So they waited that long. And then all this time in the Chinese press, they were saying, "Oh, America doesn't even help us. They're not even helping us."
I
That's
heard
'cause
the
government.
CDC actually tried to go in and help,
Mhm.
and that they refused to let the CDC in.
Mhm.
They would only let. So Scott makes fun of me because I call it the WHO. I think we should all adopt that, by the way, because it's like the band. I refuse to say World Health Organization. I say the WHO. And so he cracks up every day because I tell him all about what the WHO is up to and what the WHO is saying. Anyway, WHO was allowed in, but we were not allowed in.
Mm.
And so, I understand that tensions between our countries are high. We're already starting to see basically the impact of this illness trickling down into supply chains. So people are not working in these major cities, and the world. I mean, they are the engine of the world when it comes to consumer goods and electronics and things like that, and it's coming to a halt. And so I think that this is what I would consider a black swan event. I think we haven't felt it quite yet, but I think I don't even know how to say this word. I am not an epidemiologist. Is that right? Epidemiologist?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, got it. Nailed it. I am not an epidemiologist and not an expert by any means, but I feel like, hopefully we do everything we can to protect countries that have no infrastructure, because that could just be devastating. This is clearly not just the flu.
Yeah.
And I think people have been trying to flag that and say this is not just the flu, because there's this counter thing going on, which is like, hey, 60,000 people die a year from the flu, but we never talk about it. But the flu, I don't know that it overwhelms health systems like this. Like this is, they get the flu in China.
Yeah.
It's not like they're immune from the flu. And I've never seen makeshift hospitals being built in 2 weeks to accommodate the flu. So, I mean, there's definitely something up with this illness. I mean, the good news is that is not spreading wildly to other places, but there are a couple of cruise ships, for example. I feel so bad for those people.
Oh yeah, the ones that are held off of the coast of Japan.
Yeah, and there's another one. There's two.
I
So
think,
there's
the last time I checked in, they had 61 people, I think, that were sick on that cruise ship.
yeah, 61, and then I believe, I could be wrong, there's another cruise ship outside of Hong Kong that is also quarantined and being held out there. And can you imagine? It's already bad enough to be stuck on a ship. You know, it's fun for a day, you know, but you know you're getting off.
Now they're going to be stuck on that ship for over two more weeks.
2 more weeks, and it could be even more.
Yeah.
Like, because what they're doing is they're waiting until you test positive. It's just a petri dish in there.
Yeah.
You know, the way you're basically on a floating RV with, you know, the water and everything. It's all
With
intermingled.
4,000 of your closest friends.
Yeah. And so they're confining them to their quarters unless you are in the interior corridor. If you're in the interior corridor, you apparently don't have very good ventilation and no sunlight. And so they're letting those folks come out on the deck, but they have to stay 1 meter or something apart from each other.
I'm just wondering what they're doing about food. Because
Apparently the food situation's good.
But well, I mean, not even just on the ship. The ship, yeah, you can get supplies and stuff in through the side in the port. But I'm talking about like in China, to where they are cordoning off like apartment buildings and locking people inside.
Yeah.
To where, and I think I had read that they're stopping food deliveries because they're worried about food delivery people spreading, you know, the illness. And so
I am worried that people are going to starve.
that's one of the concerns that came to mind for me as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
out of safety, what really is going to happen? Are they going to die from starvation, or are they going to die from the illness?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to get those sorts of machines running again to get, you know, we have an excess of food in this country and we can't even get it to those who need it. You know, I can't imagine the logistics behind
To where you have cities of millions of people
millions
being
of
locked
people.
down.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, what I've read is that supplies are low. They're only allowing one family member to go out per day or every other day. I don't know how it is to go shopping. And so people are going out and exposing themselves and others to the illness. You know, it's you don't see viruses; they're on surfaces.
Yeah.
It's really easy to touch your eyes and nose. So, you know, a lot of people are saying this is probably going to be a pandemic, and you know, I think that one of the things that I want to talk about today was, you know, as sad as it is, maybe the only silver lining is that China finally gets free speech.
Yeah, I've seen that online. It's just flooded with people talking about this physician that died,
Yeah, I think people.
and the outrage that the government was covering this up and forcing him to be quiet, etc.
Yeah, I feel like this is the first time that I've seen people break through the firewall in this way, where I'm getting the sense that they're really uneasy and unhappy with their leadership and demanding, you know, that people are able to blow whistles on things like this for the greater public good.
Well, and I saw reports that Xi Jinping basically went off the grid. That he's not showing up to his public events. He's not doing. He used to be very involved in press conferences and in press, and I've read reports that he's just kind of gone. And so people are wondering, what is he doing? Is he in a bunker? Is he hiding out? Is he sick?
Possible.
I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, their propaganda machine has been trying to put forth, like, look how industrious we are. We can build hospitals in 2 weeks to house, you know, thousands of sick people. We are so good at addressing this, but it's really backfiring on them. And I think this doctor dying, he was young too. And I don't think he had
35, I think.
35,
36.
and I don't think that he had, I haven't read anywhere that he had any like underlying health conditions. So my guess is it was because he was exposed repeatedly to the virus and just had a viral load or something.
Yeah, you can only take so much.
Only can take so
exposure.
much.
I mean, and the bad thing is it seems I was looking at some of the studies. I forget where it came from. It was one of these medical studies showing that around day 9 is when like the pneumonia starts setting in. And pneumonia is what's really killing these people.
Right.
Because it just essentially drowns you in your own bodily fluids. And you can't have this exchange of CO2 and oxygen. And so they're just drowning.
Well, that's the other thing people have accused the Chinese government of, is they have been classifying some of the deaths as pneumonia and not to this virus. So the counts are off. And there's lots of just really shady stuff going on here.
Well, and early on, I believe the death rate was supposed to be estimated at 2%, the fatality rate. And just the other day, I don't know if you saw this that I posted online, that there were some screen grabs from Tencent, which is a big a multi-international media company in China. And they had posted numbers on the infected rate. And I think it was about 154,000 reported.
Wow, that's way more than
And then
what they're saying.
over 24,000 deaths.
What?
Not 300 or 500 like the government is saying, but 24,000. And then, like an hour later, all of that information went away and changed, and they were just plugging in the government official numbers, the ones that
Of
were
course.
being released by the CCP. So
So who knows?
that's led a lot of people in China to think, what are the real numbers now? Because Tencent's tracking this outbreak on their website, and then they have these dramatically different numbers with huge death tolls, 24,000.
Right.
Which you would think, well, that would be kind of consistent with what we're seeing to hospitals being overrun and just piles of corpses.
Right. Right.
So I don't know. We just don't know the number. But I mean, unfortunately, you have a government that is just built on not telling the truth.
So I understand that they don't have clean energy, but I did find it really strange when I was watching videos. There's like videos of people on their roof socializing with each other on their roof, and
On the
people
balcony, yeah.
on the balcony, which I thought was really heartwarming. There was, lots of footage of people out and about town, and did you notice how polluted it was? That's weird. So there's no traffic. There's nobody on the road. Why do they have that level of pollution? All I could think is maybe they have fireplaces or something.
Well, I mean, the majority of the energy comes from coal.
Right.
And so they have tons of coal plants, and that's where a lot of the pollution comes from.
And I guess it's kind of cold right now, so
Yeah, it is winter.
yeah.
But, and I was also thinking, is that also a contributing factor to the fatality rate? Is this why all these people that are relatively healthy or should be relatively healthy, are they more susceptible? Do they
Because
have
of the
lung
pollution.
disease? Just with the pollution and everything. I mean, that would be sort of a pre-existing sort of factor that could make you more susceptible to becoming ill or
I
dying.
haven't even thought of that, but you're right. A lot of people who go there have come back and said that their lungs hurt.
Oh, with like the air quality there, just on a regular daily basis, is pretty much on par to what we experience with the wildfires here in San Francisco being blown into the city.
Right.
Back
So the
in
particulate
2000.
matter too might
Yeah.
also wow, okay. I didn't even think of that, but that could be.
So, I mean, that was just a thought on my head, off the top of my head, that was, hey, maybe these people already have a struggling immune system, and then on top of that, you have this coronavirus, and it's just knocking them off.
So one of the things I love to read about are conspiracies and tinfoil hat type stuff, because sometimes it's true. Things sound really, really crazy until you discover that they're true. But one of the things that's circulating right now is that this virus is man-made.
Yeah, I saw some early stories last month about some lab workers or people that worked with the university in Canada that were suspected of smuggling out viruses out of a laboratory in Canada and then sending them over to what is it, the
Wuhan?
the Wuhan laboratory there,
Yeah,
which is one of the highest level security virus facilities they
which
have in
happens
China.
to be less than I don't know, within 20 minutes or less of the epicenter of where supposedly the outbreak was, the meat market.
And
Which they're disputing too. They're saying that actually patient zero
never went to the meat market.
never went to the meat market.
Never had that exposure.
And I also read today there's some animal. They originally thought it was
It went from
snake.
bats to snakes to who knows.
Yeah, and now it's like some creature that looks kind of like an armadillo that I've never seen in my life. But yeah, I mean, and they said that it's 99% match between these animals and the coronavirus, this strain. So, but who knows? It's really, really hard to trust things when your government is distorting things so much. So my heart goes out to the people of China who may or may not ever hear this, but
a friend of mine from China that came here, I believe back when he was in high school. I used to work with him, and I was talking to him the other day about this whole thing. And I was like, hey, you've got a government that's hiding information, and are these numbers accurate? And I had him translate the numbers from Tencent for me. And he's like, even people over there, all my friends over there, they know that the government's full of shit. All of them.
So it's only a matter of
10
time.
out of 10. 10 out of 10 people know that it's full of shit. It's like they know they're being lied to.
Yeah, so it's only a matter of time. You can't keep people in a pressure cooker like that forever.
No.
Right? Like, you can't. At some point, there's going to be an uprising of some sort. I mean, the one thing is they're probably not armed.
No, they're not allowed to have guns.
Yeah, so there's a Second Amendment problem. They can't actually even take to the streets and fight their government.
No.
If you look at Hong Kong during the protests, there's people who are flying flags of "We need a Second Amendment," and this is the reason why. This is the reason why you need to have your citizens armed, is for situations like this, so that they can overthrow tyranny.
Well, and I think there's also concern that the CCP might even use this as an excuse in Hong Kong to go after some of the people that were causing problems before, of rounding these people up and then saying that, oh, well, we're taking you to some facility just to monitor for your illness.
Well, that happened to one guy. So I read a story about there's this one citizen who decided to leave his house and take citizen journalism into his own hands, and he showed up to a bunch of hospitals to shoot footage. And he counted 8 bodies in under 5 minutes. Being loaded into a truck. He saw someone who had just literally died, and the doctor was telling the person, like, who is this person to you? And
one with the son crying.
Yeah. And it's just heartbreaking stuff. And that video went viral. And I think it was that night or something like that. He got there's a bunch of human watch organizations who actually look out for people like him. And I don't know what happened, but I guess they tried to triangulate where he lived and figured out so they could help him. But the police showed up, but they were in disguise. They were in disguise as hospital workers, and they were wearing those hazmat outfits. And they told him that they needed to take him in because he had been exposed to the virus, because he had been someplace he shouldn't have been. And it turned out that they didn't take him to a hospital. They took him to a police station and basically reprimanded him and did the whole thing where they made him make a statement and, exercise their authority over this poor person who was just trying to figure out the truth.
Yeah.
And they don't want panic. I understand not wanting panic, because panic isn't good either. It's kind of like if you have a bunch of people running out of a concert and they trample each other. You don't want that kind of thing happening. But at the same time, your citizens deserve to know, what's going on, and to be well informed, and to understand why they need to stay inside. And there's a loving, wonderful way to do this, and then there's the wrong way to do this.
But unfortunately, they still have people running the cities and everything that are party members, whatever they call them, that still have the mindset of, well, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing what I'm told.
Right. When are they going to stop doing that?
We have to get it done. We have to get it done. I recently watched a really tragic, it's a wonderful documentary, but it's really sad and tragic. It's called One Child Nation. It's on Netflix if you want to see it. I believe it's on Netflix. So check that out. It is about the Chinese government's policy of limiting people to only having one child. So you have instances to where they would burn your house down. They would pull you out of your house and burn your house down as punishment if they found that you had more than one child, because you were taking advantage of the country. You were the problem. And then this filmmaker went around talking to people that worked in the government that were running these villages, that were party members. And their excuse was, well, I was doing my job. We have to. This is what we were told. We had to do it.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit more than that. I think it's the systematic destruction of people's families. So, like, if you speak up and you do the morally right thing, your family members may disappear forever.
Yeah.
And so it's a straight page right out of North Korea, right?
Yeah.
You get sent to a prison camp or something like that, and no one ever sees you again. So I think that is also part of how this all works, is the just absolute fear. I mean, we saw it with the protests with the T-shirts that we were handing out. People there were wearing face masks, and everyone was like, why are they wearing face masks? Is that some weird cultural thing? And it's like, no, I don't want to be identified because I'm scared for my family.
Yeah, and the local consulate sent people out from the government to take pictures of us while we were there.
Wow.
So the volunteers were telling me who these people were and that they were there documenting for that very reason, trying to identify them.
And the other thing that's bumming me out is the various reports of people treating, you know, Americans who are Asian badly because of this and using it as an excuse to say things that are hurtful and harmful.
I saw that I think there was a lady in New York that was accosted and attacked maybe.
Yeah.
I think I'd seen some report about that. Somebody saw her wearing a face mask or whatever and attacked her.
Yeah, I've heard several stories, and then I've also I sat next to a couple. They were tourists, and they were from South Korea, and they were so happy to like be able to sit down and take a break. They'd been walking all over town, and they basically were talking about how people were avoiding them and yelling things at them because they had face masks on. And
here in San Francisco?
Here in San Francisco.
I mean, there are people in San Francisco that wear those masks all the time anyway.
I know.
So it's kind of surprising.
It's really strange. And, you know, this is not, if you see this sort of thing, I really hope you speak out and protect people from this kind of idiocy.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's just dumb. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
You know, these people can't, they're not to blame.
No. And everybody's susceptible to catching this stuff. So it's not.
Yeah,
like
we're all have one thing in common is we're human beings. And, you know, the people in China are not to blame.
No.
You know, like, I've seen things where it's just like stop eating exotic animals, and there's all these tropes about like eating bats and stuff. You know, that's a very like I don't think the majority of people in China eat bats.
No.
So
but
there are exotic markets.
But if we are being honest, bats are a really terrible option to eat.
Yes, please.
Don't eat bats.
Don't eat bats
because they are loaded with viruses and pathogens.
Yeah, because apparently they're actually close to us in some way, and that's why but they actually can withstand these viruses.
We're very susceptible to getting zootropic diseases from them.
Okay.
And so, I mean, that's why rabies is one of the problems. I mean, that's so easy. Just a bat doesn't even have to bite you. If it's infected, it can just scratch you. There was I believe a 23 or so year old college student that died not all that long ago from a bat flying into him.
Whoa.
Didn't bite him, just scratched his skin. Didn't even know he was scratched or bitten or anything. A bat just flew into him that had rabies, and then the kid died.
Wow. I'm glad you told me this. Maybe you even tried to warn me on Facebook at one. I don't know. I have bats in my barn.
Like, bats look cool and everything, but you shouldn't be all that close to them.
Wow. I have a barn, for those that don't know, in an undisclosed location that was filled with bats. They currently are gone because there's a barn owl in there, and maybe they'll come back. But I used to sit in there and watch them and just marvel at them, and I don't think I'm going to do that anymore.
Well, you know, in Arkansas, I've got bat houses set up to promote them to eat mosquitoes and stuff around the house, but I'm not going to get close and friendly with them.
Yeah, I was getting a little too close and friendly.
I'm not going to get close and friendly with them because they do pose some sort of threat. Yeah,
right below where they used to be, there's just a ton of owl pellets now, just everywhere. Well, I don't know. I don't know how we want to end this because it's such a sad situation. You know, there's no way to make light of this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fortunate thing is our government has shut down flights. Like I was talking about my friend a little while ago, he had plans to go to China. And when this first broke out, and I said, you need to cancel your flight right now. Get your money back. Do whatever you have to do. Don't go over there. This might pose a threat for many months. And fortunately, he canceled his flight. And then not long after, of course, the government shut down flights. So you don't even have the option anymore. So
he couldn't get back in.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to get him back. I said, if you go over there, you're going to be quarantined. You're going to probably not be able to fly back. You're going to lose your job. Just stay here.
Yeah, stay
here, play it out, see how it goes.
That's kind of the approach I'm taking. It's just stay here, play it out. Don't panic. I'm not changing my behaviors.
No, just of course, be very vigilant to, just your hygiene factor. Make sure that wash your hands all the time. I haven't had the flu since 2004. It's been a very long time. And
Yeah.
that's because I obsessively wash my hands before I eat anything. If I shake hands with people, I do not touch my eyes. I grew up like a paranoid germaphobe.
But I have
So,
an occupational hazard, which is I have to shake a lot of people's hands. I don't have to, but it's this weird thing where it's just like so instinctive. They stick out their hand.
I shake people's hands all the time.
Oh, okay.
But again, if I'm going to touch anything or consume anything, then I absolutely go wash my hands.
Yeah, it's hard for me to remember. I got to remember that. One of my partners at Founders Fund keeps hand sanitizer on his desk, and after every meeting, he comes and puts hand sanitizer on. This was way before coronavirus. Like, he's just always done this. And I always thought, that's smart, but I haven't done it. Because sometimes at Founders Fund, I would go like 6 meetings back to back of handshaking. And if you think about that, like the previous handshake and the handshake before that, I really wish we would just move to bowing or fist bumps. Like maybe coronavirus will move us in that direction. Maybe that's the other silver lining.
But then it's kind of confusing because our culture tradition is to shake hands, and then when somebody wants to fist bump, it's not always clear, and you don't know what you're doing, and cross signals.
Yeah, that's true. I try to elbow bump sometimes.
Like a surgeon.
Yeah, like give me an elbow bump.
You're in an operating theater with the surgeons, and you're just like bumping shoulder.
Yeah,
or
bumping elbows. So sometimes I do that.
Yeah, so I mean, just common sense stuff. Just if you're gonna cough, you're gonna sneeze, cover it up. Don't spread anything. Wash your hands constantly.
And I think it's also
and like once a week. It's probably just me. Once a week, I have these little Lysol wipes, and I even wipe down my phone. Because again, interacting and then handshaking and doing all this stuff, I don't want to accumulate stuff. So especially if I go and I get really grossed out at gas pumps.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. When I touch something that feels greasy, it really grosses me out and freaks me out. So I'll wipe down my phone if I just bump gas.
Oh, wow. I don't have these like tactile things. I have people in my family that do, but I don't have it.
No,
I have other things.
It's really strange with me because I can go skin an animal and just be covered in blood and mud and just sweat, and just that doesn't gross me out. But like touching something greasy just really skeeves me out.
Yeah, well, we all have our things, don't we?
Yeah. Yours are words, and mine's pumping gas. You're pumping gas and touching something greasy.
I also don't like burnt milk in the bottom of a pan, because whenever you burn milk, like you're boiling it, and it like sticks to the bottom of the pan, it makes this filmy substance at the top, which is disgusting. And it also has this like weird spongy like thing at the bottom. And oh my gosh, I gotta tell you, it's revolting. I don't know what it is. It's just milk. It's just milk. It's not a big deal, right? But like for whatever reason, like I've actually not been able to clean a pan at all.
You just like, I'm throwing this one away.
Yeah, I'm throwing it out. It's done. Burnt milk. I'm over it.
It's like, sorry, you burned the milk. Got to throw that pot away.
Yeah.
Just buy another one.
I can't wait till we have my pal Lucas on the podcast. He's going to come on because he's going to tell some funny stories about me.
That's going to be a great one. I was talking to him the other day.
Yeah.
Just making sure he comes onto the podcast. So we'll have to schedule it when he's in town.
Yeah, well, he's working a lot of times when we do these podcasts, so we got to catch him when he's not working. But one of the things he can tell you about is like what my house was like, or apartment was like when we met. I definitely had some weird stuff going on. So we'll get to that. I didn't think it was weird. We all do weird things sometimes, and we don't think they're weird, but
Talking about that, I think I saw one of the pictures probably from when you first moved to San Francisco.
Oh, really?
When I was doing image searches to find something and trying to settle for something for the podcast, I found an old MySpace photo of you sitting at a computer. And it looked like you were probably maybe 21, 20.
Probably.
Yeah, it's quite a while ago.
Yeah. Back then, we didn't have like live streaming webcams. So we had webcams, but what they would do is take pictures every 10 seconds.
Yeah, those are awful.
And it was like all the rage to have one of those at work. So I don't know what photo you're talking about, but my guess is it's one of these pictures of me at work.
No, it was at you in your apartment.
Oh, really?
Sitting at a computer.
Huh.
Because there was like a bed or something behind you. I'll have to show you a picture.
Oh, yeah. I am in my early 20s in that. That is correct. Yeah. Short hair. Yeah. I think I have a blue shirt on. I know that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. That actually was mid-20s.
Okay.
I think. I was working at Ironport with that photo. That would make sense because that was around the time that MySpace was like at its peak.
All the rage.
It was all the rage. So at the peak there, and then everything switched to Facebook. But yeah.
MySpace was a good idea and an awful one at the same time. Because building a community and being able to message new people and have those conversations is awesome, but when everybody can customize their own page and put like the most annoying little MIDI music on, it's like, okay, I can't even look at your page. I can't stand that music. Goodbye.
Yeah, it turns out people really want standardization when it comes to their social experiences. I think there was something called GeoCities that was very similar.
Yeah,
where it was just like
the free website.
Yeah, it was just crazy.
Just type in and have your GeoCity blah blah blah, and just have your own little.
Yeah, I'm bummed because my friend Tom Cross was going to come on the show. He was going to be here for RSA conference, but I think the panel he was going to be on was canceled, and so he's not going to come this soon. But one of the things he wanted to talk about, or I wanted him to talk about rather, was the early days of the internet and kind of what we all
were going through. Yeah,
what we were going through, and also what we hoped for the future. This is not the future we hoped for.
Yeah.
And so I think we'll delve into that in a future episode because I think it's really interesting to go back in time and kind of remember what it was like. Because some people don't know. They don't have any sort of institutional knowledge of that, right? So, but yeah, I mean, I came to San Francisco in 1999, right before Y2K. And, it was a very different world here. Very different. And
it was very different in Arkansas too. We're stockpiling ammunition just in case the world fell apart.
Yeah. People here were just not sure if it was really going to be a big issue. I had to work that night and nothing happened. I think some ATM machine somewhere in the world spit out some money or something. I think that's about all that happened. But I think that mostly it's more about the optimism that was here, like the endless optimism. It was contagious.
We could do anything. Anything's possible.
Yeah, anything's possible, and it was addictive.
We can send you pets in the mail.
Anything. Like this internet thing. It's amazing. The internet is not as amazing anymore, and it's really sad. And so I would love to talk about that a bit and try to figure out what went wrong.
That'd be great.
Where did it take a wrong turn? Because it is not all the things we thought it would be. But in some sense it is. In some sense there are things that we didn't even imagine back then were even possible.
Yeah.
But
and you also have another childhood friend, Chris. That we
can
get on
Chris
the podcast.
Collins.
I was talking to him, trying to get him on as well.
I would love for Chris to be on the podcast.
That'd be great.
Chris is, if you watched my talk that I gave at Disrupt about my past and kind of how I got to where I am, Chris is pivotal in that story. He's one of the most important people in my life. And I wouldn't know Lucas without Chris. I wouldn't, there's so much that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Chris. And Chris is like this whirlwind of, I don't even know how to describe it. He's like a connectivity tornado. He doesn't mean to do what he does. He just sort of spins around like a tornado wherever he goes and just brings joy to people's lives and connects people. And he's a super connector. And so, there's so many of us that have Chris to thank for lots of things. And when we tell him this, he's like, oh, whatever. But, because he doesn't think of himself that way.
So he's like one of your cheerleaders, just pointing you in the right direction and said,
yeah,
let's do this. You can do it.
Yeah, I think the most wonderful thing is Chris always believed that everyone is capable of something. And so he was definitely your biggest cheerleader. And, he never treated me ever like I was incapable And that was what was the most remarkable thing is there would be something that looked hard or looked foreign, and he'd just stop what he was doing and explain it to me. Like I went over to his house a couple months ago, and he said, "Hey, you want to come see my laundry room that I've been working on?" I was like, "Yeah." So I go up there, and he hands me what do you call those things that do power nail? They basically nail things to the wall, but they're like electric. What do you call those things? Nail drivers?
Well,
No.
it depends what you have. It could be like a brad nailer or so just a nail gun.
A nail gun. Yeah. Okay, there you go. It's a nail gun.
It could be a stapler, like they have brad staplers, but yeah.
It's a nail gun. Anyway, he asked me if I wanted to put the stuff on the flooring and nail it into the wall. And
he's installing flooring?
Yeah, and he just was like, he looked at me with this great joy, and he's like, "Don't you want to use it?" Yeah. I was like, "Yeah, actually, I really do." And so he let me, put it all on the wall and use the nail gun. But he doesn't like stop and think like, you can't handle this nail gun. It just wouldn't even occur to Chris. Like he's always just everyone's capable of greatness, and and he is also equally or more great than a lot of people. So can't wait to have him on the show.
It would be great.
Yeah.
I've had a few interactions with him, and he's fun to be around.
Oh, he's so great. And then
he's one of the guys. I don't know if you've paid much of attention, but when we did the Free Hong Kong thing, handing out 4,000 shirts, he was one of the great volunteers that helped us out a lot.
Yes.
He had a big truck that helped us move material around when we needed it.
He's that guy.
Yeah.
He's that guy when you need somebody, and he's my 911. Like, so is Lucas, and now Yuli. But Lucas is going to be a funny one. I love Lucas. We are so different. So incredibly different.
Different like from one another or from what you were before you came here?
And so we've always been very, very different. And, but at the same time, we enjoy a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
And so that's the connectivity that we have, is that we share a love for certain things, and a level of trust with each other and love that can only come from knowing each other for, 20 years plus. And he's like family. He's beyond family.
Well, it's not like family. It is family.
He's family.
Even with you, I've known you for 10 years. And I just tell my mom and everyone's like, yeah, she's my sister.
Yeah.
She's like my sister.
Yeah. It's like family, right? Yeah. And so I can't believe it's been 10 years, Lee.
Yeah, my mom actually was like, does she need like another mom? Like, she's like, I can adopt her.
I always need more moms.
She's
yes.
like, I can adopt her, and she can be your sister.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm always in need of more moms. You can never have too many moms. So that's really lovely. Yes, if you're listening, you can be my mom. Why not? I love it. I hope that someday I am mom to a lot of people. I think that would be super fun. I'm waiting for that to happen.
To where you can just adopt a whole swath of people.
Yeah, like a whole bunch of people that are, 18, 19, and like play that role that was so important in my life. It's starting to happen, and I think it's really fun. But who else are we going to have on the podcast? We will be doing our very first podcast for the other show with Nick Gillespie. Am I allowed to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the beginning of March. And so Nick Gillespie, he is a cool guy. He is so cool. He oozes cool. He looks like Leonard Cohen. I remember when I used to work for the prison system, I would come in late, and one of the shows that I would watch was the Red Eye with, what is his name? Greg Gutfeld. So I'd watch Greg Gutfeld, and then Nick would be a guest every once in a while. I'm like, wow, I went to school for journalism, and he's a journalist, and I'm like, wow, he's a badass journalist.
He's a badass journalist.
He's
so cool.
Like, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's who I wanted to be. That's the job I wanted.
So he doesn't, sorry, I'm going to take that back. He doesn't look like Leonard Cohen. He looks like Leonard Cohen sounds. It's more like that. He's got this leather jacket, and it's, and this look that's like straight out of like 60s rock and roll, like Lou Reed, he's got that vibe. He's got it nailed. And
so that'd be a great podcast. I don't know what I'm going to talk to him about. I mean, he has some stuff that he's working on that he's going to talk about, but I don't know. This is one of those guys that you've seen on TV for so long. It's like, I don't even know what I'm going to say.
Luckily, he's easy.
Yeah.
Luckily, he is just so chill.
And you'll be here too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he and I
course.
can talk for days. So,
There you go.
But yeah, I've interviewed him once. I don't think I did a particularly good job because, I was very new to interviewing people, and I was just so in awe of Nick, so like, well, this will probably be a lot better.
I don't know. I've seen your interview with Tron.
My Tron interview.
We should probably play some of that. Can we play it? Do we have is it allowed?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all given to us in entirety to use. So I don't think there's anything in there that's off limits, because when it was done at a press junket, for anyone, sorry, I'll back up. Tron, the movie, I did interviews with all the cast and crew, or a lot of the cast and crew, including the dude, Jeff Bridges. And when you do these press junkets, a lot of, this was my first press junket, and I didn't know what to expect, but basically you go to like a hotel or a conference center and you wait in this waiting room, and these poor actors and people sit there all day long, and they rotate through journalists.
And they have like the same question asked 100,000 times.
Pretty much. So you try to figure out some sort of angle that they haven't heard, because you're just trying to be a kind human being. And so I tried, different tactics and different things, but it was just really fascinating how it was like churn and burn. And afterwards they have these executives that decide whether or not what they said to you was acceptable. So it's censored.
Oh, really?
And you're not allowed to bring in your own camera people and your own recordings. And basically they give you the footage in the end. So they hand you the footage.
Wow, that sounds very North Korean.
It is very. So these big corporations like Disney, this is what you do. And, you're not able to go and just talk to them off the record or anything, kind of. So, yeah, I mean, the one thing that really made me happy about Jeff Bridges, when I sat down, he told me he really loved my shoes. I think I have that audio where he's talking about my shoes. I think I have it.
What shoes were they?
I was wearing these like Tron-like heels.
Oh,
they look
okay.
They look like they're, and he even said that. He's like, I really like your shoes. They look like they're straight out of Tron. He's like, those are Tron, man. He is the dude all the time.
All right, I have to admit, I know that I've mentioned this before. You like your favorite movie is Tron.
I wouldn't say it's my number one, but it's up there.
One of your favorites.
Yeah, top 5.
I recently tried to go watch it on Disney Plus. I can't get through it.
Well,
I can't.
It's your loss.
I love Tron Legacy. Like that's a good version. I mean, and of course Jeff Bridges is awesome. I grew up watching him too. And then my family called me the dude because I was so laid back and just could never do anything. I
think part of it is you really have to time travel to love it.
Yeah.
Like you have to remember when it was made and what sort of groundbreaking achievements they had in that movie. So like, for example,
it's not even the special effects. It's like the writing that really kills me.
Oh, the writing is hilarious.
It's
damn that SCSI data.
It's like so bad.
Yeah. And when they're like, even the things where they're like drinking out of the pond and it's supposed to be electricity or whatever, the creek, and, but I find it like, it's really funny. It's really funny. Like they were using words like SCSI data, right? Like, I mean, come on. It was so bizarre. That's what I love about it. It was also beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The art in Tron is just gorgeous. But it also explored this idea of like being a mind in a machine, which I really, really enjoyed. Also, greetings program. Like, there's lots of things in there that are really funny. What about I think there's a character in there named Bit who follows Tron around, and it goes, yes, no, 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 yes, 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 no. Right? Don't you love Bit? I think Bit was missing from the new movie, right? I don't think there was a Bit.
No, I don't think there was. No.
Yeah, Bit is like my favorite character. no, 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 yes, 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 yes. I mean, that's funny. And the fact that each one of them was a program, and like
Yeah, because they're not people. Everything's a program.
they're a program. Yeah, so
And then he's weird because he's not a program. He doesn't have a disc.
right, he doesn't have a disc. He's rogue also. Rogue program. Rogue program.
And then everybody just gets kicked to games
Yep.
because there's no purpose for you
Yeah.
other than games.
Go to games. You're
'Cause-
useless.
Yeah, you're not a program that's going to execute anything. You're just you'll be destroyed.
I also love the master control program. I mean, come on, Lee. Come on. It's the best movie. We are just going to have to disagree on that. But no, it's not my number one.
We could get R2D2 over here and we could screen it. And then
Yeah.
you could tell me, you could, I guess, teach me about Tron in your world, the way you see it.
I mean, it's a bit slow. It's not like a fast moving, like fast paced, thriller. It's pretty slow. And so like there's that,
Well-
know. I usually lose a lot of people based off that. Like there's like, whoa, this is not moving at a pace that I'm used to. So but yeah.
But I don't know. I'm weird when it comes to movies. There's some things that just throw me off, and I just can't do it. So like the movie Bullet that was shot around here in San Francisco with the chase scene. What kills me is they just like recycle the same clips over and over and over. I guess because they didn't want to shoot on multiple hills, and so it's just the same hill for like 10 minutes, going like down from different angles. That just ruined the movie for me.
Did you like the movie Hackers? Have you seen that movie?
I haven't seen that in so long with Jolie.
Yeah, Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in so long.
And then Johnny, I don't remember what his last. They got married after that, but that's equally like the writing in it is also equally as bad as Tron. But it's more because it was like the guy who wrote it, I guess, thought that this is kind of what hackers sounded like when he hung out with them. Like, obviously, we don't have little Pac-Mans or Cookie Monsters chomping away at bits on our screen when we hack into the Gibson, right?
No, that's not what happens?
No.
That's not your interface?
That's not our interface. But you can't really explain what hackers do in a visual way without getting that ludicrous. And so I think it's that is definitely in my top 5 is Hackers. And, when I tell other hackers that, like, they're like, really? That's a terrible movie. It's inaccurate. I'm like, what? We don't have super hot, Angelina Jolie's
What was that? What was that
on
movie?
rollerblades.
What was that movie with Hugh Jackman where he was a hacker? It
Oh.
was like Travolta and everything like that. That was another like terrible.
Oh, I feel
hacking
like
sort
it
of
starts with an
interface.
S. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't think of it right now.
So yeah, he's just pumping loud music and standing around and gyrating and like you just see
Totally.
this little stuff spinning on the screen. It's like, okay, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I get really excited when they actually.
There's like some 3-dimensional code that he was getting into, and
Yeah, I love it when movies actually get it right, though. The Matrix was really cool because Trinity uses Nmap, which is this port scanning tool, and she's scanning, I guess, for open ports that can be exploited or
for like
something
the
like that.
phones or something.
Yeah,
Was that what she was using to find like available phones?
I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't want to say yet, but I do know that the whole theater, because I watched it, with a bunch of nerds, erupted in cheer because they were like, "Nmap!" I think it's the second movie that had it. Was that Reloaded?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. They are filming a new Matrix here in San
I saw
Francisco.
that online.
They call it Project Ice Cream.
Really?
Yeah, Project Ice Cream. And I think the first spotting of Keanu was him over in Alameda by himself, just sitting there eating an ice cream cone. Like, I don't know. That's
Just him
fun.
hanging out, or like
Just
were there
him by himself, just sitting there
so it
consuming an ice
it
cream
wasn't
cone.
a film crew around.
No, there was somebody who saw him and they're like, I'm pretty sure that's Keanu. Like, I'm pretty certain.
Just living the life.
And they're like, what is he doing by himself?
It doesn't matter. He's Keanu. He's just going to be there.
he's
He's going to
Keanu.
do whatever.
But he seems like such a good person.
Honestly. Yeah.
Like, There's
I mean, he pretty much, I think, retired from films for a while. And then when his sister got sick, he went back to making movies just to basically help her cancer treatment, I think.
oh wow.
I think there
Well,
was some write-up or story about that.
one of the things that he did that I thought was so cool, because a lot of people don't do stuff like this, or you don't hear about it anyway. But there was a lot of people in the special effects department of the Matrix movie that didn't get compensated um, as much as he thought they should, and so he gave a huge portion of his fees to them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I thought that was so cool.
No, it wasn't like just fees. I think royalties. So I think these people end up getting royalties.
I'm not sure, but
pretty much, I think I saw something about that as well. I think
yeah, because the movie did so well that he
I
was
think
just
the amount
like,
of money since the release of that is those royalties or whatever, her points, the points on the film, that probably amounted to like $100 million by now, like
yeah,
in that amount of time, and he just gave it away to the crew,
I think
which
that's fantastic.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I
Because I
mean,
mean, they're working on the film too.
he also felt that the movie wouldn't have been successful without them, and I think that's right. And so I just thought that was really beautiful, because the studio probably should have done that, but he decided to do it himself. And doing something like that doesn't come without tax consequences for yourself. Like, you
Yeah.
can't just give away money, like, without paying. You have to pay to give away money. Did you know that? Like there's a certain amount of money you can give to someone as a gift.
So even for like the credits or the points on a film, you can't just like transfer those to somebody.
Maybe. I mean,
I don't know how it works in Hollywood. They
I
have all
really
sorts of
don't
special
know.
rules.
This is a really good question. But I do know that if I were to gift you over $20,000, I start paying gift tax. And so a lot of people don't realize this, because they're just like, hey, I could use this much money. And it's like, it doesn't come without tax consequences, and
And I never understood that. I don't think the government should be able to tax that sort of stuff.
No.
I know that they want to try to penalize or keep track of people trying to launder money or whatever. But I mean, come on. I don't even think the capital gain should be taxed. Or gambling. Because if you go to the casino, you win something, they're automatically going to take a portion of it out if it's over a certain amount. It's like $500 or $600 or something. And then that money has to be given to the government. Why? 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 It's not like you can go and write off your losses at the casino unless you're a professional poker player and that's your job. Can
I tell you what my dream tax situation would be?
Okay.
Flat tax. That's fair for everybody. And I also like the idea of opting in to certain initiatives with my tax dollars. So like,
to where you can say where your money is spent.
Yes. So if I'm like a person who's just like
vehemently opposed to something that you don't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one thing you couldn't be is national security. But maybe there's a certain set amount of those tax dollars that are fixed that go to certain things. But wouldn't it be cool if people could lobby you, the individual, to basically say, yes, I agree in public roads. Yes, I agree in public schools. And then you could like disperse your money to the causes you care the most about and
have some say.
I think my biggest issue with taxation is I have no say.
Yeah.
And then we have this government that is overreaching in all regards.
And their spending never goes down.
It never goes down. It just increases.
It always goes up.
Always need
it's
more.
More tax, always.
Yeah. And then so everyone's solution to this is tax the rich. Well, you know what? You run out of rich people eventually.
Well, when I moved to California, I figured out that they stopped raising taxes. And they still raise taxes, though.
Right.
They call them bonds. So
they sneak in all over the place.
Yeah. So every initiative that they want to try to get passed or to fund some program for schools, it's a bond. It's like, I'm sorry, people, that's public debt that you're selling.
I mean, we have all kinds of taxes. We have sales taxes. We have income taxes.
So the Bay Bridge, for example, that could have been entirely paid for by the federal government. Entirely, the whole project. So the state of California didn't want to do that because that's too much federal oversight, and you'd have to supply and buy all your materials from U.S. manufacturers and suppliers. So they just sold a bunch of bonds. And now, of course, you have like tolls that you have to pay for in perpetuity, forever.
Well, I think tolls are okay, especially if, I don't know if you've ever been on a private toll road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Oklahoma and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, like if the roads are maintained and, like it's a private, enterprise that is running the roads. Like, it seems like that's how some of the roads should be. Like, I understand. I actually think there is a defense argument for maintaining roads.
No, for sure. So in the 1950s, when Eisenhower really expanded the highway infrastructure, a lot of the infrastructure had to be standardized to where it could be used for military purposes. So if there was a Soviet attack in the middle of the country somehow, some sort of infiltration, you had to be able to have personnel and access through the military and or fly and land planes on the freeway system.
Well, not only that, but I think that the ability for people to exit a situation is also a form of security, right?
Well, you can't even do that here in California.
We should be able to, though.
No, you should be able to, but you can't.
Yeah.
So even just trying to leave the city, it's going to take you an hour and a half just to get out of the city, like 25 miles. It's terrible. If there is a tsunami or a huge natural disaster, people are going to die on the road. You can't get out of the city.
That's true.
And it doesn't make any sense because you have 5 lanes of travel. Stuff moves faster in my state. And then we don't have tolls. And all the bridges are paid for by our taxes that they tax us on fuel. So there are no tolls. So I came out here and just tolls everywhere, and I just don't get it.
Yeah, and they just keep increasing the tolls.
Because the federal government pays for it. State government pays for it. You're taxed on fuel, your gas consumption, and your tags through the state and the federal government. There's taxes on fuel consumption on both.
Yeah, a lot of people think that because I'm libertarian, I'm completely anti-tax, and that's not true. So,
and I agree. I agree on the flat taxes too. One of my senators in Arkansas is Tom Cotton. I had written him years ago before I moved, and that's one of the things. He's Harvard educated, I believe, smart dude, but he somehow supports the progressive tax system, which I think is class warfare.
I think so too.
You're penalizing productivity because people are more successful, more productive than other people. And
but they can't be productive, remember, Lee. They stole it all.
Oh, they stole it all. They stole it all by creating jobs and infrastructure. And yeah, none of this stuff would exist without them. But yeah, sure.
They were just lucky. I hear it. Trust me, I hear every one of these things. And it used to hurt. It really used to hurt my feelings. But you grow resilient to it over time because it doesn't feel good to be called a thief or to say that you unfairly, earned your money or that you didn't work hard for it.
Or you did it off of somebody else's back and it's just free and carefree for you. And so like one of the things he proposed in this in response, he did respond to me because I was proposing that we just move to a flat tax system. And that's exactly what our country needs. I don't care if you have $10 trillion or if you have $10. We should all be paying the same rate because if anything in this country, we should be treated equally under the law.
Have you heard the absurdity that is going around where people want to take a certain percentage of wealth that has already been taxed, right? Or that has been, that is sitting, invested in companies or land or things like that and take it away from people, like because they have too much wealth?
Who determines it? That's
like
ridiculous.
That is really ridiculous. Like how you cannot view that as just outright theft.
It's just theft.
Thuggery.
It's theft.
It's just
that's why we have the Second Amendment.
Sick. Yeah, exactly. That's what the Second Amendment is for too. That's really sick stuff. Yeah. And they say, well, we need, for healthcare. You know what?
We only need to steal from so many.
You can actually have healthcare in this country if you really want to nationalize it and do that sort of thing, by cutting overspending in a lot of other different areas.
Oh yeah.
So like
you can move it around.
The government just gets bigger and more inflated. And if you made cuts across the board, you could prioritize what people really, really want and what's really important. But I think that just like pointing fingers at people like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and saying you have too much.
Which both of those people have done amazing stuff to contribute to this country.
They have. I mean, my one gripe with Jeff Bezos is using the USPS system and abusing it. But other than that, I don't have that many gripes. Yeah. Maybe working conditions. But people can opt in or out of that.
I mean, I've heard the same thing about the Waltons in Arkansas.
Right.
And then I come out here and people think that Walmart's evil and the Waltons do so and so. And I'm like, these people literally help change the country and the way that we consume and behave as society. and also lower the cost of living and the burden for families, people trying to raise children.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
like, so it's amazing the amount of
Walmart
money
was
that they save
amazing
people.
for people. And have you noticed the rhetoric around Walmart has kind of died down?
And yeah, well, of course, the documentaries stopped coming out because now they have a new enemy, Amazon.
Oh, that's right, Amazon.
Yeah, so Walmart scene is like being in the back burner. They're not the big enemy number one anymore. It's Amazon. Even though Amazon's not the largest retail in the world, Walmart still is.
I think people don't
Amazon
understand.
represents like 7% of retail sales, 7 or 8%.
I think people don't understand that nothing is permanent.
Yeah.
Like there's this feeling that some institutions or some sort of lifestyles or how things operate should be permanent forever, and so they protect it. I mean, that's part of one of the problems we have here in San Francisco with our Victorian homes, for example. They're used as a shield to prevent building more housing, when really it's just a tax racket.
Oh my God.
It's just a tax racket.
We can have a whole podcast on that.
Yeah.
That the housing and the government is just,
But
that whole thing.
yeah, I don't know how you could hate Walmart as much as people hate Walmart. I grew up in a town where Walmart was like a social hub. And to many extents, it still is. Like if you go to a town that has a big Walmart and you'll see people talking to each other and they're like, oh, I'll see you at church on Sunday or at school or at work or whatever. And they know each other and they know the cashiers and you know, so I just think it's just really sad and out of touch. And a lot of people think that, you know, I saw a lot of sort of shaming around dietary choices was another thing that went, and they tried to correlate that with Walmart. Mm-hmm. That was sickening too. It was just so elitist crap.
Yeah,
like,
or even just trying to classify people as being uneducated or low in society in stature if they shop at Walmart.
Right.
You know, because you have to go to Target. Target is the favorite department store. I'm sorry, it's the same shit. Same shit, except for Target costs a little bit more. It's still all made
same
in China.
Shit, different marketing.
Yeah, it's just marketing.
Yeah.
You go to Walmart in Arkansas. You go to the parking lot in Northwest Arkansas, Walmart. You're going to see Porsches and everything like that. It's everybody.
I mean, the
shops at
nice
Walmart.
thing is a lot of the things you buy from Walmart are technically probably safer than the things you buy from Amazon. Mm-hmm. So Walmart has a vetting process over everything it puts on its website or its shelves.
Yeah, they have a whole buyer's system that they review all these products and then they put them into circulation. Everything on the shelves.
But now there's like these news reports about Amazon having, you know, faulty hardware that catches on fire and things that contain lead.
Counterfeit products.
Like
those hoverboards. There was one of the big ones years ago.
Yeah.
To where people were selling like fake hoverboards and then they were catching on fire and burning down people's houses.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but that's true. You know, I think that, you know, that is still one nice thing about shopping at Walmart is, you know, they have a whole system around that about caring about their consumer. Whereas Amazon, I think, is just trying to figure it out. Like their whole marketplace system is it can be harmful, you know, and people can sell bad things. So hopefully they'll figure that one out. And so it doesn't happen anymore. I definitely have wondered if I should buy electronics off of Amazon anymore. You know, it's like, can I trust it? You know, I don't know. I just hope for the best most of the time in life, right? Just hope for the best. Anyway, I'm glad that this ended on a
more positive note than from where it started. Yeah.
Note than where it started. But I think I'm going to end here for now. And
just everybody, you know, I would try not to get too hysterical about what's going on, going back to the coronavirus. Just try to do your best, be responsible, make sure to wash your hands. I mean, that it sounds really simple and childish. That's what you tell children just starting elementary school, but it's still as important today as it was when you were a kid.
I'm going to go wash my hands right now.
Yeah, just wash your hands constantly.
I'm going to go wash my hands.
Just build up a good habit.
Okay.
Just don't get like too crazy to where you're just like scrubbing off your skin.
Yeah,
don't overdo it.
Don't hurt yourself. Yeah. Wash your hands. All right. Well, thanks everyone. We'll see you next time.
Regardless of your patches, these keystrokes go East Coast and worldwide. We own now. Find us and then sign us. We got the world behind us. stopping. That trace route, stop hopping. Software that we backdoor, root shares that we hack for. Toolbars and setups, our payload stay fud. We reflect your defects and cause an older flood. We got packets on packets on packets on packets. Got packets on packets on packets on packets on packets on packets. Got packets on packets on packets on packets on packets on packets. Got packets. Lexic, Cloudflare.